All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Deborah Rogers Curtis. I'm the Green Schools Coordinator for Show Me Green Schools and for Missouri Gateway Green Building Council. I'm the one who's been emailing you. I will be emailing you for the rest of the program, and feel free to email me and harass me as well. It's great to see so many folks in the chat. Thank you for introducing yourself. We'll have a moment to actually connect in a breakout room later in the meeting, but just want to make sure we know everybody who's here. I'm going to go ahead and present and screen share for a while, and then we'll get to questions and answers. But if there is a thing that you really have a burning question about, feel free to interrupt me throughout the presentation. Let me just make sure we've got our recording going, and then we will get started. All right. Tonight we are focused on three things. The first is the program logistics. Second is resource sharing and making sure that you guys have exactly what you need in order to have a successful project this year. And then we'll end with some Q&A. But like I said, if you have questions along the way, feel free to shoot me a message in the chat or stop me from chatting your ear off. Just a brief intro to me. I'm a former teacher and a former principal. I have been doing school sustainability for a long time, but on the practitioner side. And then when I was ready to transition away from the school itself, I wasn't ready to leave education. As you know, education really gets its claws into you, and you can never really leave it. So now I work on the program side, still working with schools to become more sustainable. This is my contact information. I'm a very open and available human being to talk to. This is my cell phone. Feel free to text me anytime, call me, email me, connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to show off your schools on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me, and I'd love to see what you guys post too. So our program tonight is the Green Schools Quest, and you are actually part of a larger group of programs called Show Me Green Schools. We have three programs that are co-run by Missouri Gateway Green Building Council, that's my side of things, and the Missouri Environmental Education Association. Leslie Moylan is on the call as well tonight because she's a mentor, and she helps co-run these programs together with our two organizations. The MIA side of things really brings in environmental literacy, Pollard and me. And the Missouri Gateway Green Building Council brings in the built environment and the expertise on that side. The Quest itself is a very specific program that can be either entry level or very advanced. We have some schools with us tonight and in our programs that have been with us forever. We started in 2013, and we actually have schools that have been participating almost every year. We've had a school who took a year break in COVID, but otherwise has been with us the whole time. And then we also have brand new schools who have never done anything with school sustainability. The goal of the quest is to create a low or no cost project for our students to really take the lead on. So this is supposed to be highly participatory for students and giving them the option to not only lead the project, but also implement the project. So this one is particularly student driven. For those of you who are interested in more advanced sustainability initiatives, Missouri Green Schools and the Green Ribbon School program could be your next step, and I'm happy to chat with you about our other programs. They are very robust and also provide a lot of free professional development opportunities. All right, so for the quest itself, this is mostly for our newbies. So if you're a veteran, just ignore this part, just tune me out. Basically, the structure of our program is that we have school leaders who are the teacher or the staff member at a school, and then we have mentors who are experts from a field in sustainability. With those two adults combined, they help lead students to take on a sustainability project. You're really trying to focus kids' excitement and enthusiasm because, as we know, students of all ages are thrilled when a project is in front of them, and they can be ridiculously ambitious in a great way. But sometimes we need to focus those ideas down into something that is one specific idea that is actually feasible for the school year. So basically, the school leader and the mentor together are really trying to get students to plan a project that has at least one very clear SMART goal with some data attached to it, a clear timeline to complete their project before the March 15th deadline, the resources needed to complete their project, and the data points to track before, during, and after the project. And then really you're just trying to help students get these projects going. You're trying to get students to summarize their projects eventually in March when they turn in the project, but you're really there as a facilitator for students to take on sustainability projects. By the way, all of these photos that you're seeing throughout the presentation are actual schools from last year's Green Schools Quest, and they're really cool and they did some amazing things, so it'll be hard to top, but I have a good feeling from this group. The mentor specifically, we've got two photos of two different mentors, actually three different mentors. Benjamin Winkler is with the Department of Public Health with the St. Louis County. And on the left, we have Maggie McCoy and Cassie Knight, both of whom work in the Sustainability Division of the Missouri Botanical Garden. Over the years, we've had over 200 mentors who come from all kinds of different backgrounds and companies and fields and locations. And basically, mentors are there to provide as much guidance and as many resources as they possibly can to make sure your project gets off the ground. It could look very, very different from mentor to mentor and from school to school. Some of you, as school leaders, are thinking, well, I want somebody to come and interact with my students and be a guest speaker. Others of you are thinking, I actually just need an expert to ask a few questions to, and that's about it. And it can range any which way for you. Whatever your school needs and whatever your students need for their project, that's what we're hoping our mentors can provide. This presentation will be emailed out to you right after this entire thing is done, but there's hyperlinks everywhere. The hyperlink in this bottom left-hand corner is an entire presentation specifically on what mentors can and should do during their time is as your mentor. I want to highlight that while we encourage mentors to help find funding if you need funding for your project, we don't want the mentors themselves to be the funding. So if you do need funding and you need some financial resources, feel free to ask your mentor to help you look for them, but please don't ask your mentor to actually pay for anything or your mentor's company to pay for anything, because that's not actually what they signed up for. As much as I love asking people for money, they are not the right people to ask. They are the right people to ask, however, to be a guest speaker or to be a regular guest speaker on your chosen topic, or to help you find other guest speakers on your chosen topic. They can also help recruit volunteers for your topic, especially if you are doing a hands-on physical labor of love, something like a garden that constantly needs volunteers. Your mentor is a great person to say, hey, I'm trying to recruit volunteers on this day at this time. Can you help get the word out? That's a great thing for a mentor to do. That is also something that I can do for you, and I would love to help promote your work days, your volunteer opportunities, anything that comes up where you need extra support or you need people to really join forces with you. That's what I'm here for too. And then one of my favorite ways a mentor can be involved is providing a forum for students to present their project. This is maybe in next semester land when your kids are all done, but they're so proud of their work and they just want to share it with the world. Sometimes mentors can invite schools to come and present to their company, and it's kind of a nice career opportunity day for the students to see a workspace, meet some new people, meet some colleagues of the mentor, and really present their amazing work. It's a very special opportunity. We also have this amazing series called Connect on the Quest. This is one of my favorite aspects of this program. As a former teacher and a former principal, I was constantly looking for professional development that was actually good. Because my God, PD is so boring and can be truly terrible sometimes. So this is not that. It is really fun and interactive, and we bring in guest speakers every single time who are actual experts in the field. If you can tell by our theme of this presentation, we are very heavy on water this year. While your project can be anything at all, you can tackle waste, water, energy, you can tackle gardens, you can tackle composting, anything that you feel passionately about. Our official theme is water, and so our Connect on the Quest series this year is going to focus very, very heavily on water. If you want to take a little screenshot of this, there's also going to be another slide up with all of the program dates, but this is specific to Connect on the Quest for the entire year. There are 3 official Connect on the Quest sessions that are for every school level, pre-K all the way up through 12th grade. And we're really focused in October on the local programs that focus on water. And then in December, we've introduced national and international programs and organizations that focus on water. And then in February, for those of you who make it to February and you realize, oh my gosh, I never started a project. Oh no, what do I do? Also, it's freezing. How about an indoor project? So we're catering to the folks who are going to procrastinate on that one. You're welcome. But there's also this sneaky little one on October 22nd, and this is just for high school students because we have a partnership this year with an organization called Walking Softer, and they are providing a teacher and a project stipend. Unfortunately, it is only for high schools. Elementary and middle, I'm just going to tell you right now, this is also infuriating to me because I was a middle school teacher and then I was an elementary school principal. So I really do feel your perspective here, and we will continue to work on other partners who can get you some money. If you're a person who desperately needs money for your project, hit me up. I'm very good at begging for money. For our mentors on the call, we also have some professional development for you. It's a little less structured than the teacher professional development. These are much more collaborative, and really what we're doing in these sessions is we are bringing mentors together and we're asking you to help crowdsource problems and solutions. So we meet together via Zoom only, and we always meet during a lunch break because mentors, you have a very bizarre schedule. You're all over the place. So noon seems to be the winning time here for y'all to meet up. And really what we're doing in these meetings is we are trying to identify a problem at your school or a need at your school, and then we are talking to veteran and rookie mentors who have ideas on how to solve your problem. Because while this is a competition and there is money at stake for the winners, this is also a very, very friendly competition, and we love to work together and make sure that all of our schools succeed. So this is a real nerdy situation where we want to make sure that everybody is a winner. It's like British Baking Show, except for school sustainability. All right, our timeline for this year's quest, very similar to last year's. October is really the month to establish your project. I highly recommend making sure that you have a project idea at least formed by the end of October so that you can really focus on implementation throughout November, December, January, and February. You really want to review the new Green Schools Quest rubric, especially for our veteran schools who have been here for a long time. We have updated the rubric, and I will go over that in great detail in this presentation. But that's a really, really important thing for y'all to look at in the month of October. Just so you know, think with the end in mind. This is very much backwards planning for our teachers on the call. You want to know what you have to turn in at the end so that you start really, really strong. There's also two specific presentations that I will explain where how to find that I recommend looking over in the month of October and with your students. They are kid friendly. There's nothing, I didn't put any cuss words in them, but they are truly meant for older students. So if you have a younger group that you want a younger presentation for, I'm happy to differentiate that and make it a younger version. But the Rainbow of Sustainability and the Whole School Sustainability Framework, these are two concepts that we really govern our programs by, and we want to make sure that our educators are working within those two frameworks. And I'll explain that later, but this is a great thing to review in October. And then most importantly is that the mentor and the school leader connects during the month of October. And this again will look very different by school. This could be as simple as an email or a text message. You don't have to make it fancy pants. If you want to have an in-person meeting, sure. If you want to do Zoom, great. It's really up to you how you want to connect and what you want it to look like moving forward. So make sure that you connect with one another before the month of October is over, just so you know who the other person is and where their areas of expertise can really help your students. Another great way to start October is to complete something called the baseline self-assessment. And I again will show you how to access that in a moment. This is a really simple, should take you about 30 minutes. If you do it with students, you can drag it out for as long as you need. It's really just a questionnaire on what kind of school sustainability initiatives you already have. And it's a great way for schools who do not know what they want to do for their project this year, for them to kind of figure out, oh, we need this. We don't do this at all. We have no recycling or composting or something to that effect. It's really simple. It's a yes/no survey, and you also earn points on the rubric if you turn it in each year. I also suggest creating a SMART goal and gathering your initial data during the month of October because you will need that data when you turn your projects in. And it's much, much easier to do it from the beginning so that you can keep track of your data as you go. I'm using the term data very loosely, and the judges will also be using this very loosely. Data can look very different from project to project. Let's say you're doing an energy analysis of your school. That has very black and white data. You can actually look at a utility bill and say, we are using less energy, and here's how I can prove it. Others are going to be doing projects that are a little bit more nebulous or a little bit harder to track. It might be a project like we're trying to improve the student health and wellness of our entire student population, and you do not have magical access to people's health records. So your data point might look more like this year we increased the number of students going outside by 10%. This year we gave a survey to our students, and our students are 20% happier when they're in the garden, something to that effect. So you can make the data as black and white and hard data as much as you want, or you can use much more anecdotal data. The goal here is that we are teaching both the staff and the students that all projects should be rooted in some kind of information and data. Then from October to February, you're really just moving with your project. You're letting your project be implemented or planned. Some of you are going to take on planning projects this year that don't actually have an implementation phase, and that is okay. This is especially true for schools who are interested in maybe implementing or creating a garden out of scratch. That is very difficult to do in one school year, especially financially. So we know that some projects are just planning, and that is perfectly acceptable. You do not always have to have a hands-on physical product at the end of this project. But throughout October and February, you want to be really want to be working on your project and documenting your project as you go because it's a lot easier when you get to March if you already have photos along the way, you already have data points along the way that you can just insert into your final submission. One interesting thing that is going to change this year in your final submission packet is they ask a specific question of how much work students completed versus how much work did the adults complete. Again, this is going to look very different from grade level to grade level. We do not expect a preschooler to write a written report on their sustainability impact of their project. As much as I believe children are capable of incredible things, I actually think that's not fun for a preschooler, so I don't expect them to try that. But I do think it is important for students to be as involved as possible at an age-appropriate way. And so if you're keeping track of that as you go, it'll be much, much easier to document that in your final submission. Then in the month of March, it's a mad scramble to complete your final submission. The deadline is always March 15th. I believe this year that's on a Sunday. It's also the worst possible time of the year because it's right around spring break. So to all of the teachers on the call, I really, really apologize. And all I can say in my defense is it was like this before I got here. So I have not changed it, but please know March 15th is the deadline. So if you can put a giant circle on your calendar for that, that's the big one. Your final projects consist of just a few items. First, the final submission form. This is an online form. It looks like a Google Doc. It's pretty easy to fill out. Then 3 to 5 photos. Those are also just uploaded into the form. The written report. People really get tripped up on this because there is no formal requirements for the written report. I don't give you a form. I don't tell you you have to answer these certain types of questions. The trick here is that people, our judges, want you to be able to just explain what your project is without too many requirements. The written report is really there for each of you to just express what happened, how did you do it, and why. The digital presentation is very similar. People get caught up on this the phrasing of digital presentation, all it means is some form of visual aid to your written report. It could be as simple as a group of photos. It could be as advanced as a video with voiceover and music. I'm going to tell you right now, you don't have to do that. Just know the digital presentation is just there for the judges to be able to see what you're talking about. This is especially important for projects that did not get to the implementation phase. If you are a planning project, it's really important for the digital presentation and the written report to explain that and say, we did this on purpose. We didn't just, not do the project. We actually wanted to take a year to plan something, and then next year we hope to implement it. And then finally, there's a photo release form. This is not a requirement, as in every single child needs one. It's a requirement in that if you submit a photo with a child's face in it, they do have to have a photo release form. If you take a photo and everybody has a photo release form except for one kiddo, all you have to do is cover up that kiddo's face. We leave this up to the educator to make sure because we do not know your students and we want to be respectful of school privacy. That is especially important to me as a former principal. We want to make sure that privacy is key for our children. If anybody's on the call from Parkway School District, we have worked really, really strategically with your offices to make sure we are doing. You guys had a major policy change basically last year in your photo release forms. So, Parkway Schools, you'll get a separate email from me to make sure that we are in compliance with your district. Then, after you submit your project, you get to breathe and you just wait for the judges to read through all of your final submissions. But you also have a fun, exciting element. If you choose, you get to prepare a science fair display board and actually display it at our annual Green Schools event. It's definitely not a requirement, and you'll get a lot of information much later in the school year about it. But it's really fun, and it's a great way for kids to be able to present their information, and it even meets state standards in Missouri and Illinois to make sure that students are able to articulate their work and their understanding of their project. Poster boards are sometimes very expensive for science fair style. So if you are a school that does not have any budget for something like that, you just email me and I'll make sure you get one. Then in April and May, we go crazy with our celebrations. It's a little nuts in a great way. April 14th, you can go ahead and mark your calendars right now. We will be at the amazing Missouri History Museum in person, and we also will have a Zoom option for those of you who are far away from St. Louis. We always celebrate all of our Show Me Green Schools programs on one night in 2 hours, and it's amazing. We have free food, which is obviously the best thing, but we also have student displays of their work, and they get to present their information. Last year we had 352 attendees. It was nuts in a great, fabulous way. I loved every second of it. And we also have a huge award ceremony. This photo was taken on the steps of the Missouri History Museum last year. You can see those kids were a little wired, and I promise we did not serve anything with sugar in it on purpose. We tried to wear them out. It didn't work. So just plan mentally for your children to have an absurd amount of fun. And then in May, if you're a Green Schools Quest winner, you get a separate award ceremony of your choice at your school. So I contact you and I let you know, hey, you're a winner. And you can tell me if you want me to come to a class or a whole school assembly or a board meeting because we want to celebrate you as much as we possibly can. And it is at the individual award ceremonies that we present your check because you actually win money if you're a winner. And we have these amazing, beautiful glass trophies that we give out, certificates for your kiddos, and just all manner of celebrations. This is that slide I was telling you about. This has all of our program dates if you want to go ahead and take a photo of this. This is what I just walked through, so I'm not going to say it all over again. But I will mention at the bottom of this is the link to register for everything. All of our events are always on missourigreenbuildings.org/events. This is just our registration landing page. You don't actually have to have an account to register. You don't have to pay for anything to register. But all of our events besides the annual Green Schools event are all virtual. And so if you register, you'll be able to receive the calendar invite and the Zoom link without any hassle. So please make sure to register for those events. All right, I'm going to pause talking so much just to come ask people to come off mute or check the chat and let me know, are there questions so far about the timeline or the program and logistics?
Hi, yes. This is Vivian McKenzie. I'm in the fifth household. I was wondering, is this program open also to paraeducators? Because I'm not a full-fledged teacher. And
Absolutely, Vivian. Of course, it's open to absolutely anybody who works in a school. This year, we have our most diverse set of educators who signed up ever. We have people who are classroom teachers, of course, that's our most common position, but we also have superintendents who signed up. We have principals who signed up. We have the school nurse. We have the school librarian and media specialist. We have, I think, three teaching assistants who have signed their school up. So this is absolutely available to anybody who works in a school. Excellent question. And beautiful background of your lovely icon, by the way. All right, let's keep moving on.
Deborah, can I add one comment about
Of course.
the April celebration at the History Museum? We do have that virtual component, and for anybody that wants to participate but can't make it to that event, we are working on for the virtual portion during that science fair time, working on getting schools the ability to present virtually for those of us that would be on a virtual call. So put that bug in your ear.
Thank you, Leslie. That is an excellent addition. And it's also really exciting because presenting, no matter what format you're in, is important for kiddos. So if you're eventually looking at this, you can hyperlink over to the new scoring rubric, but I want to give you kind of a preview of what this scoring rubric entails. Um, Previously, we did not have a total points, and that drove educators insane. So this year, we made it a lot easier. It's a rubric out of 100 points with a bonus opportunity for 10 extra credit points. So the 100 points are broken down into several categories. The highest and most important category is the final submission itself. And this is just that simple Google Doc where you're submitting all of your information. There are a lot of questions here about kind of how you did your project, and that's where the judges are going to really understand what you did and why. Then 20 points of our rubric are really about creativity and innovation. Did your students have the opportunity to really express themselves and think critically and to really go kind of crazy on this great project? 15 points are specifically about data. So this is both before, during, and after your project. 15 points are about project demonstration. That's a very strange way of just saying, what did you do? And 15 points are about communication and collaboration. And then the smallest category is project perpetuation, meaning can this project continue on past your legacy or past your students being there, or is it kind of a one and done project? Some projects are intended to be one and done. That is perfectly fine, but we want to make sure that the impact is perpetuated. And then the extra credit points are truly up to the judge's discretion. Those are for projects that just kind of blow them away in some way or another. A lot of times, judges are looking for something that is just extra impactful or allows students to really designate or demonstrate their leadership abilities. But it's a little bit all over the place. So that extra credit is really for that X factor. So I'd like to pop out of this real quickly and actually jump into the rubric itself. Oops, I apologize. I went to the wrong thing. Good Lord. Why is it so difficult to move things around? All right, are you able to see my rubric screen?
yes.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so the rubric itself will also be included in the emails and the link of resources to you via email. But it's everything in the rubric is hyperlinked so that you can have easy access to it. The baseline self-assessment is the very simple thing that I explained earlier, but I want to make sure for veteran schools and any schools that are from Missouri Green Schools, you do not have to submit one every single year in order to receive points. If you have had a form submitted in the last 2 years, it counts even for this year. And so there's a little hyperlink there to see if your school has submitted a form or not. Um, so that's very simple, just 2 points on the rubric, but it's a nice little bonus. Then the final submission form just means did you actually complete each element? The school team explained how much work was completed by the students in the project. Um, I like that this says it will vary by grade level, and the instructions to the judges is that the student involvement should be age appropriate, and it is okay, especially for our early childhood category, that the student engagement looks extremely different than especially even older elementary students. Which is also why we have split our category, our elementary category this year into lower and upper elementary because those students have completely different skill sets. The school team explains how much work was completed by the students. And then this part right here, the Rainbow of Sustainability and the Whole School Sustainability Framework. These are hyperlinks to specific presentations, and it goes through and explains what the Rainbow of Sustainability is and what the Whole School Sustainability Framework is. I'll also offer a special kind of one-off presentation on both of those topics, especially for our new folks who have never heard of either of those concepts. We don't have time to cover that tonight, but I want to make sure that you know the resources already exist and the presentation will be added into our program. Measured performance, you're really trying to demonstrate that you have data at the beginning and the middle and the end. And this whole section is really about where you're paying attention to the data. The SMART goal is really helpful just to kind of anchor your project and help you know what you are actually trying to accomplish and how you're going to accomplish it. The project demonstration, this one is really what did you do? You can literally list your steps that you took to either plan for or implement your project. And did you demonstrate the results of your project? And this one gets very specific. We want to make sure that we know in the written report how did your project turn out? Kind of where are you in the process? And the digital presentation has at least one visual representation of the project. And especially make note if you are in a planning project, you don't need a photo of a completed project. You could use a chart, a graph, or an illustration. And if you're a teacher, I think you should really focus on allowing your students to create those, unless they're very, very young. Project perpetuation, as I explained, it's okay if your project itself ends at the end of this school year, but we want to make sure that the impact continues. We don't want it to just be one thing and now it's over and no one will ever know about it ever again. Creativity and innovation, we really want to see imaginative ideas, unique, original ideas. Um, they don't always have to be expensive or fancy, but we want to make sure that they are unique and original and specific to your school community. There's a special one right here, number 16. The project was either low or no cost, or the students were engaged in securing funding. So we know that some schools are going to come through this program and are going to find a grant somewhere to do something big. A lot of times this is a garden. Um, and sometimes they grab a $10,000 grant, which is amazing and fantastic. And you should absolutely do that. We do not want to discourage you from turning down 10 grand. However, we want to make sure that our field is very level. We want to make sure that we are not awarding schools that had a huge grant opportunity while dismissing schools that actually came up with a free project. So we are either going to award points that were low or no cost, or we are going to award points to a school that secured funding through student leadership. This is not to negate or to dismiss any efforts on the teachers or the adults or the mentors to secure large amounts of funding. I'm actually very excited that schools do that. It's very challenging. However, the point of this project is that it's low or no cost, and so we want to make sure we are sticking to kind of our program here. And then finally, the communications and collaborations section of this lovely rubric is really about how did you share your news? And this can be as simple as a parent communication went home. We send home an e-newsletter. We posted it on our social media page. We made sure our district knew what we were doing. It can be very, very simple efforts. We don't want to create a burden or more work on you, but we want to make sure that you are celebrated as a school. And then we also want to make sure that you are communicating with people like your mentor and businesses, nonprofits, the entire community, even just families. I think is very important to make sure that they know what you're doing and why. And then there's this lovely bonus points that's going to drive everybody nuts because there is no definable quality about why you should get that or not get that. All right, let's go on back to our presentation here. So when I send this out, you'll get your links to Rainbow of Sustainability. Here's like a little blurb here about what the Rainbow of Sustainability is, because it is worth points on the rubric, and it is important that we show that we are using at least one of these concepts in our projects. And they're really, the point of this system is to show that these sustainability projects do not exist in a vacuum. They actually are extremely interconnected with all different aspects of our world, society, and culture. Same with the whole school sustainability framework. This is really helping you understand that sustainability projects are not one-offs. Even if you are the only teacher in your building who cares at all about school sustainability, you still do not exist in a vacuum, even though it might feel like you do. But you don't, because there's all of these different elements that are at play that are building this into a whole school sustainability building. All right, I'm going to pause there and ask if there are any questions about the new rubric or how to earn points on your project.
I have a question about the SMART goal. You have that in caps. Is that an acronym for something?
Yes, ma'am. SMART goal is a lovely term that teachers hear way too much about. It's basically a way of making sure that your goal is attainable, it's specific. I'm sorry that I'm on the spot. I'm not going to remember all of the letters of the acronym, but it's a very specific way of writing a goal to make sure that it is attainable and specific and has data attached to it. So there is a template for SMART goals specifically to the quest in your resource folder, and we'll make sure that you guys get that because it's a really easy formula to kind of plug and chug. Any other questions? That was a great question, Kristen. Thank you.
You mentioned earning points, and is that does that only happen at the end of the whole project, or does it happen along the way?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
Yes, yes. You mentioned something about how the students can earn points. Does that happen throughout the entire project from October through February, or does that only happen at the end of the project?
Great question. It only happens at the end. So the idea is you're completing your project throughout the school year, and then in March you do one final submission of all of your materials all at once, and the judges review and give you an actual score and then some feedback also. And then we announce winners based on those scores. So it's only one time. If you want feedback along the way, you are more than welcome to ask me for that. I do not give it to the judges, though, until the actual end of the project in March. All right, let's carry on. All right, resource sharing. This is my favorite thing to do because basically teachers are geniuses and you give them a link to anything and they make an amazing project out of it. So I'm very excited about this part of our presentation. I'm going to be sending you an email with a link to your resource folder. This is a preview of what it looks like. You have several folders in there with infinite amounts of resources, but my favorite thing in there is the resource library. The resource library is anything to do with school sustainability, all broken down by topic. So there's just folders on folders on folders with links on links on links. I will give you a heads up that many of the government links are broken due to major administration changes, but also the impending government shutdown. So if you reach a government link that does not work, don't worry. We leave them in there because they often repair themselves. So just a heads up there. But the resource library and the folder for you guys to kind of explore are really meant for Green Schools Quest participants to be able to access anything that you need related to school sustainability. There is this fantastic folder in the resource folder called Project Ideas, and this is perfect for a school that does not have a project in mind. We have lists and lists of what a school sustainability project might entail. We also have them highlighted for this year's theme if you want to stick to a water project. So if you're looking for a water project, they're all highlighted in yellow. If you're looking for a completely free project, we also have that list available to you. If you're just looking for projects in general, we have about 1,500 listed, so don't get overwhelmed. Just kind of sift through the list at your leisure, and find something that really matches your school community and the needs of your building. So resource sharing is also something that we do at every single Connect on the Quest event, and we will always provide just infinite amounts of resources. And if we don't provide what you want or need, then I'm the person that you need to ask because I will spend days finding what you want instead of asking you to do that, especially if you are an educator on this call. You don't have any free time. So I will do that for you because I'm paid to do that. So make sure that if you're looking for something specific that you cannot find, please let me know and I will find it for you. All right, we're going to pause here and go into breakout rooms so that we can really start digging into your project just for about 10 minutes. So in each room, all you need to do is do a quick whip around and introduce yourself and then start the conversation very casually. Chat openly about your ideas, needs, questions. I'll put on a timer and we'll come back in 10 minutes, but I'm going to let you choose your breakout rooms here. So, breakout number one is for an ideas room. This is for people who already have their idea and they need some feedback, or for people who do not have an idea and they desperately need an idea. So, this is both for the very confident and the very confused. Breakout number two, room number two, is for resources. This is both for people who have good resources to share and for people who need resources for their project. This is a good room for somebody who really, really knows what they're going to do for their project and already knows something that is a need. And then breakout number three is for the extremes, our rookies and our veterans, for first year participants and for people who have been here for 3 years or more. So this is really to encourage our rookie participants, and that could be for mentors or for schools, by the way, just to make sure that we are not leaving anybody behind and that we're making sure that everybody understands this program and where we're going with it. So take a little screenshot of this real quick so you remember what you're supposed to talk about in your breakout room, and I'll get you guys going. For those of you watching the recording, I am going to stop recording at this time, and I will encourage you to email me with your questions.